Lake Amistad is one of my all-time favorite fishing lakes. I've got a love affair with that body of water that goes back from when I first moved into the San Antonio area in the early 90s. Fast forward to today, I love it just as much, but I also recognize the challenges now more than anything of fishing Lake Amistad. And as I say challenges, it's because this lake is never the same really from year to year, because it's a reservoir that is designed for irrigation. They take a ton of water out of this lake, flush it all the way down the Rio Grande to help for irrigation for the farmers down in the valley. And therefore, you could come over here and the lake be super high after a lot of rain, or it could be 40 to 60 feet low. You just never know. And so as a bass fisherman, it's a body of water that you really have to stay in tune with. You have to stay on top of. You've got to move around, and you've got to understand that it's a bathtub. You fill it up, you pull the drain, and it's gonna go down.
There he is.
Good one?
Feels a little better.
Oh yeah, here. Waiting cold with that one.
Yes, sir.
God, like there's gotta be a swim bait bass right there. Oh God, he was barely hooked.
Good night,
Right.
look at that.
When you start looking at Lake Amistad, it's this pristine body of water in so many ways. It's generally going to be very clear. You've got visibility at times where you can see 20 plus feet deep. As we've said before, the lake goes up and down. There's not a lot of development on the sides of the lake. I mean, the only boat docks you're going to see are at the few marinas where you unload at. There's not, houses that go right down to the body of water. I mean, those things just don't exist. So when you're running down the lake, you're seeing this desert landscape of rocks and Southwest Texas, Mexico type of landscape with big bluffs in certain places, cactus and weesach and salt cedar and mesquites. I mean, it's just kind of this rugged, remote destination that gets bass fishermen excited. There's one. Coming up. We got a bush.
Good one?
Better one.
Yeah.
Ta-da! When it comes to fishing Lake Amistad, there's a lot of things to keep into mind, depending on when you're coming. The water is going to be on the rise or on the fall more often than not, and you can look at, you can type in Lake Amistad water level, and you're going to get some great data that'll pull up. You can look at it and see the current conditions. Setting up your electronics, I use the Garmin's, and I use the water level features all the time to be able to, once I look at that level, I find out how the water level is setting up. I'll type in, 30 feet low, 40 feet low, 60 feet low, whatever it may be, and then I color code everything from there so that I can identify where I'm running, what's going to be in the water at that given time. Use your mapping to really be able to look for contour lines and cover and everything. And honestly, I really like to fish the lake in that 30, 40 feet low scenario, because there's lots of drains, lots of canyons, lots of places you can go up in to get out of the way. The lake really fishes really big then, and there's a lot of different ways to catch them then.
Wow.
Golly. Stay hooked up. I can tell you're golly. I like that one. Man,
Skinny water.
I'm telling you. That's fun right there. He crushed it. I like it. Go back and grow up. I mean, that was shallow. She's got it all up in there, dude.
Oh, yes. Would you look at her? Would you look at her?
Yeah! Son, look at that one.
That is an old fish, though. Look at that thing.
Amistad really burst on the scene if you look back into the mid-2000s, early 2000s actually. There was a bunch of tournaments over here. The lake was full, it was healthy, hydrilla. a lot of fish were being caught back then. But I can remember times when, you know, on Amistad that 12, 13, 14 pounds would win a tournament. But more often than not, you're gonna have a chance to catch some big fish when you come to Amistad.
Oh, it's a big one. Big in. Big in. This is a multiple pointer. On the side. Giant. Giant. Get him, get him, get him, get him, get him. Oh, yeah! Woo! Yeah! Ah! Ah! Cutter blind. Whoa, boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
baby. What a beauty.
Huh? How about that for the first one?
I like to fish the hydrilla when I can find it on Lake Amistad. You have to keep in mind that it could be 20, 30 feet deep, and it can be up to a foot or two. I fished it at both levels, and you have to find that grass a lot of times to find the bass. That's not to say that's the only way to catch them, because it's not, but when you can find hydrilla, generally you've got a great chance to catch the bass. So when you start looking and you start graphing, you're covering water, it's going to show up on your graph, and then depending on how deep it is, and depending on how scattered it is, depending on how thick it is, depending on the time of the year, you know, we'll give you a lot of options to fish it. I mean, I've caught them on frogs and shallow water spinner baits in the grass, swim baits in the grass. I've caught it dropping 1 ounce jigs in the grass. I've caught them cranking. I've caught them on lipless crankbaits. I've caught them on spinner baits. I mean, you just have to determine what the grass is at any given time and how you're going to fish it. One of my favorite ways is during the pre-spawn, when that water temperature is, let's just say 48 to 60 degrees, fish hadn't moved up. If I can find shallow grass in the drains, getting in there throwing crankbaits, the SPRO Little John. I mean, there's a lot of different crankbaits that you can throw in those situations, kind of work your way down some of those drains, look for the key areas, and boy, you can absolutely hammer some of the pre-spawn bass in those situations.
Oh, come here, fish. Goodness, you're strong down there. Boy, you ate it too. A little bit butter bass. Come here, buddy. Look at that. That's all about eating. It's got everything in there. That's what I like to see. That's gonna be one of the, I mean, he hit it with authority right off. You can kind of little point with some grass on it. It's cranking down through here. I think every bass we've caught so far today has been on that Little John right there.
You know, one of the things I think about Lake Amistad that I always tell people when they ask me about fishing is this can be a lake that if you're wanting to get bites, light line I think can really pay off for you. 8 to 14 pound test if you're casting a worm around can really pay off a lot of times with action. You know, if you're a tournament guy, you know, sometimes that might be going down a little bit too light, but if you're just one of those guys trying to get bites, that's probably a great way to do it. A lot of the tournament guys will rig leaders and different things to kind of, you know, overcome some of that so they got a little more power to them. But for me, I've always keyed in on a lot of light line on Lake Amistad to find success.
Smallmouth.
Is it really?
Yeah. I caught smallmouth in here last time. We're in here too. Caught a keeper smallmouth.
Brownie.
Checking him, see if he's still shaking his head.
I actually shook his head once.
Yeah, he did. I saw it shake a little bit on the rod. Make me grab that crankbait pretty quick. Get out of the way. Pin him good. That's the kind you like to.
Yeah, that fish, he could have done 4 backflips. He'd have caught him anyway. Good deal. Maybe there's a herd of them up there.
When it comes to Lake Amistad, I've had a couple of great, you know, legendary tutors that I've learned a lot from on fishing this body of water. Ray Hanselman and Mike Hawks, they're legendary South Texas anglers that have been on this body of water for a long time, and I was real fortunate to learn a lot of things from them and other tournament anglers as well in the area. about how this body of water sets up, about how nomadic these fish can be. And you know, that may make it sound a little bit dire when you're trying to come out here and go fish because the fish are on the move, but it's also a challenging piece of the puzzle. But the best thing about Amistad is it's simply full of bass.
The bite, better one there.
Keeper?
I have to go right in there behind you.
Yeah, I would. There might be a little covey over there.
Kind of over here where we had a couple of those other bites. Not too far.
Kind of a long old fish there.
Yeah. It's just good to get to where you can catch them again out here.
I know it. I've had, it's been so long since it's been good. It seemed like the last week, the last 4 days I fished, you know, we had our best 20 weighed like 105 pounds. Wow. I don't recall doing that years ago. I know we did, but golly, it's just fun.
There's a little better one, I think.
You got one?
He's shrinking. Same line I caught that other one on. A little better.
Bigger than brother.
They're growing up in size.
You know, fishing with Ray Hanselman one time over here in a pre-spawn situation, I mean, it was right about the time of the year that the fish were really going to go to the bank. We were, you know, Ray had us kind of positioned following some drains and some contours in an area that he had located a lot of fish. And one thing I've learned from Ray over the years, drains and ditches, he loves to follow those. And, you know, we were mixing it up, throwing big crankbaits, throwing soft plastics in there, throwing a mix of baits in there. And, you know, as often is the case when you're in that pre-spawn, when you find those fish, you can really get a lot of bites. And in this type of a situation, you know, when we would hit one of those ditches, hit one of those bends, hit a drop off, and those fish were in there, I mean, we caught some really big fish.
Gonna jump.
Oh yeah, there's a good one.
I'm gonna get right back in that same drain.
Probably a school of them over there. Usually they're gonna jump again.
That's what you're looking for at Amistad for the future.
Yeah. Oh. He's feeling pretty feisty.
That's got to make you feel so good as somebody who guides and seen this lake through its ebbs and falls, you know, ups and downs, and to start to see fish like that.
It does. I mean, you know, I guess what they say, patience is a virtue. And these are just healthy, thick. Everybody thought they died, but they just been out.
Well, you look at all your guide pictures right now, and what everybody's catching. I mean, you know, you're bringing in fish like that almost every day right now.
Yeah, limits of them.
Well, that's awesome.
Switched up, tied on a spy bait just to do something different. And he smacked it.
Another trip that I did over here on falling water in the lake was really not necessarily fishing the best at that time. People were a little, you know, trying to figure out what was going on. We were actually throwing the SPRO Spin John here. This little booger right here is kind of a sneaky little bait that a lot of guys throw for smallmouth up north. When you're fishing this, you know, Amistad's really a clear water lake, and you can throw this on like anywhere from 6 to 12 pound test line, preferably fluorocarbon, because that's going to sink and help this bait go down. And as it goes down, it's got a kind of a rocking motion. It's got a couple little props on here. And when you first look at this, you would think it's a topwater, but it's really not. It's a bait that you throw out, you let it fall, count it down depending on the cover that you're fishing, 2 to 6 seconds. It'll get it down, you know, in that 3 to 7, 8 foot, and then you just steadily reel this bait back. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a kind of a little lip here, and this bait just kind of rocks subtly to the side. You know, a lot of guys will come over here and throw a jerk bait, me included. I'm always going to have a jerk bait tied on at the same time I'm going to have this bait tied on. But if I need a little more subtle presentation in a lot of situations, this is definitely a bait that I go to. And we've had some phenomenal fishing trips over here when we were first field testing this bait.
Hey, jumper, coming out of the grass. Little spy bait fish. Oh, he's down in the grass now. Come out of there, buddy. Come here. Oh yeah, good fish. Nice healthy one too. You know, with this bait, and I'm new to it. I'm one of my first times to use it. This SPRO, basically a spy bait that John Cruz developed. And in theory, you know, when things get tough, this is a bait to throw. And I've been throwing a jerk bait and really hadn't had a lot of action. I've had 4 bites on this, not really honestly knowing a ton about how to fish it and everything. Just started tying it on and learning it, and it's really, I mean, these fish have annihilated it, the bites that I've got, and it's got the twin props on there. It's kind of sleek, it's real slow. Got a little lip right here that kind of helps give it a little more action, and it's kind of in a way here with these swivels on here to help keep the bait from you know, getting thrown by the fish when they bite it. We'll talk more about it as we catch more and learn more, but I mean, for what it's designed for and what it's doing so far, I'm pretty impressed. One right there, little bitty guy. Not as small as I thought he was. God, you know, I was getting bit on that jerkbait earlier, and they just quit. Changed to this. I've had several bites. I don't know if I'm jerking too soon on some of them or what, but man, when I get a bite now, he's darn sure coming in the boat. A little spy baiting. I am not a spy bait expert, but I am learning with every cast and every bite. Dude, it's like a soft plastic bite almost. It's kind of nibbling on that feather. But what I wasn't prepared for, honestly, in this technique is, you know, I'd make a long cast, and I had a lot of bites. You know, a lot of fish would hit it and eat it and take it on the back hook. I could have had the wrong color. It was post-boo bird, but I mean, I was shocked at how many little bites I had. And part of that is probably due to the feather, and there's some bluegill in here that are pecking at it. I even caught some bluegill at different times. But when a good sized fish, and by good size, a keeper sized bass, when they got around it and bit it, man, they bit it with aggression. Oh, he hit it on top. Come back and got it. Got him. Got him. Got him. That fish just kind of ticked like a soft plastic bite when it was falling, and I missed him. I knew it was a bite, and I jerked it to the top. He blew up on it like a topwater bait. That was pretty fun right there. I'm not gonna lie. A very finicky type bite, but I mean, I kind of think that's how the day is going right now. And I missed him, and he chased it back up and hit it again. Or if he didn't, it was his buddy. I'll let you go. It's so fun to learn new things and do new things and try new things, and my tongue-tied here. You know, and you have to make yourself a lot of times do that as a fisherman to see if it fits your arsenal and learn more about that bait. You can't just throw it 2 or 3 times and think you're gonna have it dialed in. You really, to become proficient at a new technique or a new bait, you've gotta put everything else down. You've got to throw it. You know, Amistad is just one of those bodies of water that presents a lot of different ways to catch them. Top waters in the summertime, phenomenal. Dropping jigs, fishing big Texas rigs into the big hydrilla mats, great way to catch them. Deep cranking in the pre-spawn, throwing swim baits, casting wacky worms. I mean, if you like to catch fish on a lot of different techniques, Amistad is one of those bodies of water that really sets up well for you. It's a matter of understanding the dynamics and the changes that this lake goes through. The guys that fish this lake a lot really stay on top of those. There's some great forums online, people that'll help answer questions, and then there's gonna be days out here on this body of water where even the best are gonna be scratching their head wondering what the heck is going on. Same size. That's what you come to Amistad to do right here. You get 2 good ones like that. Got over here in a little muddy water, I'm gonna let mine go and I'm gonna catch me another one.